Hello, everyone. Welcome to Everything Arsenal. Surely not. Surely not. Surely not. I mean, today I feel Brazilian, first of all. Today I'm starting to feel very, very, very Brazilian. No way. David Ornstein does not just tweet about anything. David Ornstein is not the type of guy to just make up transfers and tweet about it. When David Ornstein tweets, you have to listen. And apparently, Arsenal are looking to go for Vinicius Jr. Now, I've always said I was very heartbroken about not going for Rodgers. They really, really wanted Rodgers at Arsenal, but I've never given up. I've always told you guys I'll see how it goes until preseason, and then we'll make a judgment. At the beginning of the transfer window, David Ornstein said this transfer window is going to be an eye-catching one for Arsenal. They will spend the same amount of money they did last season, but it's not going to be on 8-9 players. It's going to be on a few players, and a couple of them will be very, very big signings. And, since then, we haven't really made those big signings yet, but I've still been thinking, surely not. David Ornstein told us we're going to have a big transfer window. We are champions. We just go to the Champions League final. Surely not. Surely this transfer window is not going to end with just Meslier and Tzolis and one more signing. Surely not. This is the breaking news from David Ornstein. Arsenal exploring move to sign Vinicius Jr. from Real Madrid. Arsenal interest on in early stage, but clubs not yet in talks, but idea approved at all levels. Match rests on contract process has no breakthrough yet, and Real Madrid do not want free exit. So a couple of things to go through there. His contract has 12 months remaining. Vinicius' contract is expiring in exactly 12 months, and Real Madrid do not want to lose him on a free. So if Vinicius does not sign a new contract, they have to sell him this transfer window to get some money for him. On top of that, the deal has been approved by all levels at Arsenal. So that means Arteta is happy to have him, Bat is happy to have him, and the Kroenkes have approved the deal as well. For Vinicius Jr., you're going to have to break the bank for him. You're not going to get him for 60 million and 200k a week. No, you're going to have to break the bank for him. If our plan was to sign 6 players this transfer window, if Vinicius becomes part of that, that could drop down to 3 signings because you're going to have to break the bank for Vinicius Jr. You're not going to get him for cheap. Now, things could change because he only has 1 year remaining on his contract, so maybe it doesn't cost you 200 million. But because players like Rodgers and players like Anderson and all these other guys have gone for 120, I'm assuming Vinicius would be around the same. It'd not be cheap at all. You're going to have to break the bank for Vinicius Jr. and you're going to have to pay a lot of money for him in terms of salary. You're going to have to break the bank for him. But for how many years as Arsenal fans have we sat down and thought, wow, wouldn't it be crazy to break the bank for a player? We'd always want players like Mbappe to play for us. You've always imagined players like Ibrahimovic playing for us. Always imagined players like Haaland playing for us, and you're always like, no, why is it always Man City? Why is it always Real Madrid? Now we understood why at that point we weren't really competing for titles and all that, but now we are different. Now we've competed for titles for 4 years in a row, gotten to Champions League quarterfinals 3 years in a row, semifinals 2 years in a row, and a final last season. And right now we can actually step up and say we can beat teams to targets, and Vinicius could be one of them. This is a world-class player. When you always talk about Bruno Guimaraes, and I tell you guys, Bruno Guimaraes was Brazil's second best player this World Cup. Guess who was number one? The guy we're talking about right now, Vinicius Jr. And David Ornstein does not just tweet. Let me remind you guys, David Ornstein does not just wake up and say that Arsenal want Vinicius Jr. He does not just tweet randomly like that. Ghana Blog has also confirmed that Arsenal exploring a deal to sign Vinicius Jr. from Real Madrid. That would be crazy. As Arsenal fans, we're not used to things like this. Vinicius Jr., can you imagine? We've been talking about getting a left winger for years. We've been talking about Rafa Leao, Lookman, Nico Williams, all these guys all these years. Imagine if we actually end up getting the best of the best in terms of the left wing. This guy 2 seasons ago was, inches away from winning the Ballon d'Or. So we could be getting a Ballon d'Or, nominee basically in our team. Ghana Blog says candidate to strengthen attack if no Real Madrid renewal. Arsenal interest approved at all levels. So to repeat again, the likes of Arteta, Bata, Kroenke, all of them have approved this deal. If it's going to happen, 12 months remaining on his Real Madrid contract. contract, which could mean the price a little bit lower. If Vinicius has like 5 years remaining on his contract, it's going to be expensive. It would be like 200 million. But with only 1 year remaining, maybe it's doable. Maybe that's why Aston have been taking their time in terms of not signing any other players just to see if Vinicius becomes available. And hopefully it works out. Hopefully all the waiting, all the waiting we've done, all the waiting, I know, all the frustration, hopefully it comes out. And, it comes out that we were waiting to sign Vinicius Jr. I think everyone will forgive the board and Bat and everyone else. If we get Vinicius Jr., they'll forgive them for not, getting Rodgers and all that, because I'm sure many people would have said if it's between Vinicius and Rodgers, get Vinicius. In terms of the article that David Ornstein wrote, he says that, let me read for you. Arsenal exploring deal for Real Madrid winger Vinicius Jr. Arsenal exploring the deal if he does not extend his contract in the Spanish capital. The Brazilian international, who is 26, not even in his prime yet, he still has a couple of years to get into his prime. So that would be crazy, man. Vinicius. That's not what I thought. When I woke up this morning, I did not think we'd be getting, reports about potentially getting Vinicius. Figures prominently among multiple candidates for the Premier League champions to bolster the attack. That say the interest is at an early stage and there is no guaranteed materialize into a deal. Obviously, you might end up signing a new deal. We just have to wait and see. There have been no club-to-club talks yet, but the idea has been approved at all levels within. Vinicius is into his last 12 months of his terms after 8 campaigns, and there has so far not been any breakthrough in terms of negotiations of a renewal. Real Madrid will not want to continence. How do you say that word? Losing the forward for free, especially as he would be due to significant loyalty bonus next season. Vinicius impressed during his this summer's World Cup, playing in all 5 of Brazil's games and scoring 4 times before Carlo Ancelotti's side lost to No in the round of 16. He registered 22 goals across all competitions for Real Madrid in 25-26 as they finished a second consecutive season empty-handed. Vinicius joined Madrid in 2018 from Flamengo, blah, blah, blah. And they go on to say that in 375 games, he scored 128 goals and 100 assists. Those are incredible numbers. 128 goals and 100 assists for Real Madrid. We always talk about these other players doing it in Belgium and, doing it in Greece, whatever. This one has done it in Spain. He plays against the likes of Barcelona and he plays in the Champions League against big teams all the time. That would be crazy. If we end up getting Vinicius at Arsenal, that would be crazy, bro. Personally, for me, the biggest signing we've ever made in the Emirates era is Declan Rice, getting him ahead of Man City for 100 million. And, after 3 seasons, it still feels like a bargain because, he's helped us compete all these years. Getting Vinicius, even before we even get him, he would 100% be the biggest signing we've ever made in the Emirates era. These are the kind of signings we were promised when we moved to the Emirates, big signings like this. At the beginning of the Emirates era, you aren't able to make such signings because of moving to that stadium and all that. And we were bankrupt and you couldn't get any players like this. But if you're able to get Vinicius, that is crazy. If you're able to get Vinicius, you can get anyone else. That is how you look at it. If you're able to get someone like a Vinicius in your team, there's no one else you can't get. Anyone else you can get in your team. And this is the kind of player to take you to the next level. This is the kind of player we dream of after winning the Premier League. We're thinking about, we need to go to the next level. If you want to create a dynasty, we need to make this big signings. So it would be crazy. Emmanuel says, why all this drama? Why? Did you just ask why all this drama? Arsenal could sign Vinicius Jr. I don't know if you understand that. Arsenal could sign Vinicius Jr. 2 years ago. He could easily have won the Ballon d'Or ahead of Rodri. Many say he should have been the one to win the Ballon d'Or ahead of Rodri. And again, to repeat, David Ornstein does not just make up transfers. He literally tweets like once every 3 days when it comes to transfers. He does not make up news. This is not just coming from a random source. This is coming from David Ornstein himself. Probably the only person who can match up with Fabrizio Romano when it comes to transfers. Some even call him better. And he says Arsenal exploring move to sign Vinicius Jr. from Real Madrid. Arsenal interest in early stage, but clubs not yet in talks. But clubs not yet in talk, but idea approved at all levels. So at least as of now, we know that Arteta wants him. He's approved it. Butter wants him. He's approved it. The Kroenkes want him. They've approved it. That is what it means by, approved by all the level. It's not like, other players where we hear Atita wants him, but Butter doesn't, or Butter wants him, but Atita doesn't. That would be crazy. That would be absolutely crazy. Golden says, gorgeous, gorgeous one, nice one. That's beautiful news. I'm watching from South Sudan. Says White. I can't wait if this deal happens. Let's entire EPL prepare for war. That would be crazy. If you can get Vinicius, you're going to have to break the bank for him. Right away, he'd be our highest paid player right away. You don't even have to wait for that. He'd be our highest paid player for sure if he joined us. Our players don't just leave Real Madrid like that. But on top of that, yesterday we got news that Real Madrid are about to sign Diomande, the guy who absolutely lit up the World Cup for Ivory Coast. So could that be one of the other directions that, is showing us that we're actually going to get this particular player? Real Madrid are signing replacements, and Real Madrid have signed a lot of players, so I'd not be surprised if a lot of them end up leaving. They've signed a bunch of players, Dumfries, Cucurella, Bernardo Silva, and many others who are about to go there. They want Rodri for Man City. Looks like he's going to end up there as well, so that would be crazy. Arsenal, with their madness, they never finish one signing, exploring another target. Listen, if, again, we don't know what happens behind the scenes. There's a couple of scenarios. The one that us fans are thinking about is, oh my goodness, Arsenal do not know what they're doing. This is terrible. It's July 25th and we haven't signed anyone yet. But maybe they did not go for Rodgers for that kind of money, and maybe all this time they've been waiting to see whether Vinicius is going to become available. Now, he might not become available and they might need to go for other targets. Obviously, we still need a defender. We still need Bruno Guimaraes in the team and all that. But maybe they've been waiting. If they end up getting Vinicius and they still end up getting Bruno Guimaraes, none of us can say anything about, why did they take any much time to sign players? No, we'll all just have to keep quiet because, that would be an absolutely crazy signing if we end up getting Vinicius, because maybe some could say, what if we paid 117 million for Rodgers? And Rodgers was the number one player that I wanted at Arsenal, by the way. But if you told me that Vinicius would be available, if you told me someone like Olise would be available, if you told me, Rafinha and players like that would be available, then I'd go for those kind of players. But, maybe they didn't go for Rodgers because maybe if they paid for Rodgers that 117 million and then 1 month later, Vinicius becomes available and you don't have enough money to go for him, then maybe they'd be like, oh my goodness, we knew Vinicius would become available and that is the player that we wanted. And again, it's coming from David Ornstein, and is the same person that reported when the transfer window started. It's going to be an eye-catching transfer window for Arsenal. Those were his words. It's going to be an eye-catching transfer window for Arsenal. We are going to sign a couple of big players this transfer window. We haven't signed a big player this transfer window yet, but maybe when we get to that game against Coventry, maybe when you get to that game against Chelsea and Aston Villa, we're going to be looking back and saying, wow, Bruno Guimaraes plays for Arsenal, Vinicius plays for Arsenal, and you've signed a top defender as well. That would be crazy. As an Arsenal fan, I'm sort of getting nervous about our signings because the rumors roaming around says mocking. I know there's always those nerves. Again, I'm not yet nervous until when you get to, in the middle of preseason or something and you still haven't signed players, then I'll be worried. But because last transfer window, we still signed players like Ezri after the season had started. We still brought in players like Incapi after the season had started. I'm still going to wait. Last season, he delivered and he got the Premier League title. So I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. Yes, obviously, when you look at Chelsea signing players, Tottenham signing players, Man City signing players, our biggest competition next season, you have to worry. We want players like Barcola, we want players like Vinicius and all that. So if we end up getting Vinicius and Bruno Guimaraes, it doesn't matter who Tottenham have signed, who Man United have signed, who Liverpool have signed. It doesn't matter at all. We need to go for the big players, and we've always wanted to go for the big players. We are Premier League champions now. 4 years ago, not even that long ago, 4 years ago, if you were to tell an Arsenal fan that we would be going for a player like Vinicius, we would all laugh. There was no way we'd go for a player like Vinicius. Everyone would say, like, why would Vinicius join Arsenal? Now they can't ask that, though. They cannot ask that now. We are now Premier League champions, and we know we can get to Champions League finals. They can't ask those questions again. Why is Vinicius joining Arsenal? Why is Rice joining Arsenal? Why is Bruno joining Arsenal? They can't ask that question at all. So, signed Vinicius, Bruno, and Stones transfer completed. The first two, absolutely. Stones, I'm not too sure about him. because of the injuries. But if we need to break the bank for Vinicius and sacrifice that defense, I don't like sacrificing the defense because that's the best part of our team. But if it means getting Vinicius and Bruno in the team, there's some things I think you have to sacrifice to get some things like this done. I believe we can do better with him, says Abobo. Oh, for sure. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Fortune says, great news watching from Nairobi, Kenya. I think this is going to be the best signing of the season, says Ola. 100%. If that happens, that is crazy. Still can't believe it. When I first read that, these days you have to click on the account to make sure it's the real account. I thought it was like some fake account or something. I had to click like, is this actually David Ornstein saying this? Yes, it is. And David Ornstein does not just say anything. So Arsenal exploring to sign Vinicius from Real Madrid. It is actually true, as confirmed by Ghana blog as well. If we got Vinicius, we can win everything, says Ayyoub. Bruno Guimaraes is most important for Arsenal, says Anona. Just give me Junior, then leave the rest. That's great news, but I don't think it's going to be possible. We just have to wait and see, man. We just have to wait and see. It's definitely more possible than it would have been a couple of years ago when we were, just fighting for top 4. Now it could be possible because of where we are, and now we are the top team. Right now, if you're to ask me, even before signing players, I'd still tell you Arsenal would finish in the top 2, even without signing players. But you have to sign players. You have to keep on improving. As of now, Man City could still finish ahead of you. Liverpool could still finish ahead of you. You never know. But if you bring in players like Vinicius and Bruno, and you still have players like Rice to come back and players like Saka to come back and all that, you're in a very, very good position. And this is something that always as well, boosts the rest of the players. Imagine the likes of Ezri, who joined last season, and the likes of Declan Rice seeing Aston bringing Vinicius after winning a Premier League title. That is what we call a serious team. You win a league and then you bring in Vinicius. That's what you do. Sir Alex Ferguson used to do those kind of things and then bring in Van Persie a year later. Those are the kind of things you need to do. Can this happen, says Doom? According to David Ornstein, it can. So we remain hopeful. If he's available, there's no reason why it can't happen. He has 1 year remaining on his contract. If he does not want to sign, they're bringing in a replacement in Diomande, and they're going to splash 100 million for him. They've signed a lot of players on top of that as well. Apparently, they also want a striker. They might move Mbappe to the left wing. I don't know what they're going to do. But if Vinicius becomes available, oh my goodness. If he leaves Real Madrid, I don't know which other teams would want him. I know they're not going to sell to Barcelona. Man City maybe would want him, but Man City, how many players will Man City take? They already have Semenyo, Doku, and all these guys. But I'm assuming if Vinicius becomes available today, Man City would want him and Bayern Munich would want him. But, which team would guarantee him a starting position? I'm sure if he goes to all those teams, he starts. But if he goes to Bayern, there's wingers like Olise and Luis Diaz. If he goes to Man City, players like Semenyo are there. If he comes to Arsenal, we right away tell him that is your position. We've been looking for a left winger for 4 years. You play there. Martinelli backs you up. Tzolis backs you up, and that is your position. That would be crazy, man. Vinicius, Saka, Gyökeres, Rice, Bruno. Stop saying that. I'm already excited, and we haven't even made the bid yet. Calafiori, Gabriel, Mosquera, Timberraya. That's an amazing squad, and you still haven't mentioned a lot of other players that are still part of that squad, like Zubimendi and Eze and all those guys. That's great news if it's true, says John. I'm always Arsenal when it comes for signing. They're slow. Again, if they're being slow because they're waiting to see whether Vinicius is available and we end up getting him, then we cannot blame them for anything there. What I'd like to think right now, they didn't sign Rodgers, they didn't splash the money like that because they knew Vinicius would become available. Let's hope. Because we never really hear about this stuff unless they know something. They can't just say we are going to go for Vinicius unless they know he might become available and they've talked to representatives and all that. Bruno Guimaraes is the most important player Arsenal need right now. I agree. For sure. But that is before. I want both of them. We need Bruno Guimaraes in our team because of the Declan Rice situation. What's happening? We need a midfielder and a defender. again, if you're siding Vinicius, I'd be happy to pack that defender thing on the side first, and use Mosquera and use Gabriel and use Ben White and use Timber. We can still sign a defender at the end of the transfer window, like we did with Nkapia. We can still survive the first couple of games, as I said yesterday, with those defenders that we have. The problem becomes we cannot survive with the defenders that we have all the way to December. No, we can survive the first the first couple of weeks of the season because Mosquera is still a very good defender, Gabriel is still a very good defender, Timber is still a very good defender, and everyone else we have in Nkapia, Calafiori, those guys. But it becomes a problem if you go into the season with just them, because Timber can get injured, White can get injured. If you have Stones, he can get injured. So you have to be careful in terms of the numbers that you have. But there's a lot of things that you can do there. If you need to get Vinicius, you're going to have to sacrifice something because it's going to cost you a lot of money, especially in terms of wages. But if you're going to get him, you can even sacrifice using Declan Rice at centre back for 2 games just to get Vinicius. Those are the things you need to do, for example, Man City, when they got Haaland, I think was Aguero still. They had to get rid of several players. I think they sold. Aguero, let go of Aguero to Barcelona before that. And, before Sterling moved to Chelsea and to Arsenal, Sterling was a very, very good player to Man City. But they actually sold the likes of Sterling and Jesus. They did a lot of things just to make way for players like Haaland. So we might have to do the same. Any update on Gyökeres swap deal and with Alvarez? That particular news is not going away at all. Personally, I don't like it. As I told you, if you're signing Alvarez, just signing Alvarez cash and signing him, I'm happy with that. Alvarez is a fantastic player, but Gyökeres plus 60, 70 million to get Alvarez. No, in terms of finishing, Gyökeres is a better finisher than Alvarez. In terms of overall play, probably Alvarez would fit at top better because he can, rotate and all that. But in terms of exchanging plus 70 million, I think that's crazy. If you look at the numbers, Gyökeres, blows Alvarez out of the water. Good afternoon. How are you? I want Vinicius Jr. to come to us. So that's good, says Victor. So for those ones who are just joining, that's the breaking news for today from David Ornstein. He says Arsenal exploring move to sign Vinicius Jr. from Real Madrid. The interest is still at an early stage, but the deal has been approved by all levels. So everyone who's involved, the board, Bata, Teta, Kroenke, everyone has approved the deal if you're going to go for him. And they definitely know that you're going to need to splash the cash to get Vinicius Jr. This kind of player, you're going to need to pay like 350k or 400k to get him. He's not going to be cheap. You're going to have to, get to pay a lot of money to get him into your team. There's something I wanted to check. I put a poll on YouTube, and for the ones who are watching on a different platform, the question is, right now, if you're offered 2 options. Option number 1, you're told you're going to need to splash the cash for Vinicius, but after getting Vinicius, you're only able to get 1 more player after that. We are not going to get 4 or 5 players. We are only able to get Vinicius and another player, whether it's Bruno Guimaraes or someone like that. Or forget about Vinicius Jr. and sign 5 players, Sign a defender, sign Bruno Guimaraes, sign a 60 million pound, left winger, get 5 new players. Which one would you go for? Sign Bruno and Vinicius, just those 2. Forget about any other person, or sign 5 players and forget about Vinicius. Which option would you rather go for? Would you break the bank to get Vinicius? 100% super signing if you get Bruno and Vinicius Jr., no doubt. If you get Vinicius Jr., things have changed at Aston completely. You win the league and then you sign Vinicius and Bruno Guimaraes on top of that. That would be absolutely crazy, man. That would be absolutely crazy if you're able to get that one done. I don't want us to lose Gyökeres. Let us use him 3 years. Right away, man. I'm imagining also Gyökeres playing with Vinicius. It's very, very tasty, very, very tasty. We need a defender to cover for Saliba. I'm sure they're going to do that. At the moment, you do have defenders who can cover for Saliba, but we are going to need to sign him to sign a defender for sure. Arsenal should just submit 150 million pounds plus Gabriel Jesus. I don't think Real Madrid would want Gabriel Jesus, but again, I think it would cost around that because he only has 1 year remaining on his contract, but I think it's worth it, man. He's 26 years of age, one of the best players of this past World Cup, Brazil's best player for sure. Imagine if we get Vinicius and Bruno Guimaraes, we are going to basically have the top 3 Brazilian players from this past World Cup. Martinelli, Bruno and Vinicius, also the top three players. Martinelli got them to the stage that they are in, and Vinicius was their best player in terms of those goals and everything. And Bruno Guimaraes, the number of assists he got, absolutely crazy. So let me see what you guys voted for on the poll. If you take Vinicius, break the bank for Vinicius, or so, oh wow, 86% have said they would break the bank for Vinicius and just sign one more player after that. Interesting. Arsenal is our big team. We have to maintain our level by signing top players for us to go to the next level. Let's hope so, man. For so many years, we saw Chelsea signing Ballack and Shevchenko when they were in the top of their games. Man United taking Van Persie from us. And, we saw them signing players like, Falcao, Di Maria, Cavani, Ibrahimovic. Man United were able to get all of those players. We saw Liverpool recently getting Isaac for all that money, one of the best strikers in the league. Who else? Man City have signed a lot of players. Haaland, all those guys, the top of their games. Arsenal, we signed Declan Rice, who was at the top of his game, but I don't think we've ever really made a signing like that. Maybe you could say Rice and Aubameyang close to that, but we haven't really made our complete world-class signing. I don't think we've ever made that, apart from, again, Declan Rice and Aubameyang. We're close to that, but, splashing the cash, 150 million for a world-class signing that, we see Real Madrid doing, and we see PSG doing with Neymar and Mbappe, and, we see teams like Barcelona doing with Coutinho and Dembele, paying 120 million for these players. We've never really done that. This would be like the first time we've done that. I will prefer Vinicius and Bruno than signing 5 players. Thank you, Emmanuel. Give me Vinicius, Bruno, and Stones. Listen, if you bring Vinicius, they can even bring Sterling if they want. If you're bringing Vinicius, you can even bring Sterling if you want. As long as Vinicius is coming, I don't care who else you're going to sign on a free. Glenn, for me, let's sign Vinicius and Bruno, and then we sign one right back. Mosquera will cover for Saliba, or we sign a centre back and still retain Ben White to be covering for Timber. If we do that, trust me, the Premier League's here, says Almans. Thank you for the comment. Mustafa says Vinicius and Bruno will be enough for the team from Liberia, says Mustafa. Thank you. I think we should go for Vinicius, Bruno, and Stone, says Walker. So, yeah, if you get Stones, it's going to be free. You're not going to need to pay any money for him. So maybe that's why you're being linked to players like that. Maybe because you're going to need to splash the bank for these players. But that is crazy. I did not, the whole day, it's Saturday. I've been checking the whole day to see if you're going to get any news on Bruno. And I'm like, there's literally nothing. Nothing is being reported. And I just checked, Twitter one last time. And this is what I see. Literally saw it 1 minute after it got posted. I was like, there's no way. Vinicius Jr., that would be crazy. Well, David Ornstein does not tweet about speculation. There has to be something concrete for David Ornstein to tweet about it. That guy is electric and he can start in anyone's team. Oh yeah, Vinicius, the kind of player, if you sign, you're sending a message to every other team in the league that you're going to retain that league. The rest of the players will feel so good about getting Vinicius to the team, man. Like, that would be absolutely crazy. But that is the breaking news. If there's any more updates, we'll talk about it in a separate video. But that is crazy. Vinicius potentially an option for Arsenal. Crazy. He could have been a Ballon d'Or win a couple of seasons ago. We haven't really been linked to such levels of players before. Thank you for watching. I'll catch up with you guys on the next one.